Hello, welcome to the Friday at 4 broadcast. Good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk a bit about why now is the time to step out. Now's the time to start your new thing. Before we get into that, let's just go through some of the normal things we kind of go through. Feel free to say hi if you're watching the broadcast. As always, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, if you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, let them know about the page so that they can to see like all the videos. It's probably an easier place to go if you want to see topically some of the stuff we've covered. We've covered a lot of stuff in the last few months. And hello to everyone on Facebook. If you want to put in there where you're watching from, it's good to see you guys on here. And let's just kind of go through what's kind of upcoming. If you're ever in the area, we hold an ecclesia meeting normally on the weekend. If you ever want to join us live and in person, if you're in town or if you're in the area, you can just let us know, and we'll give you the location of where we meet. And we just have a good old time doing prophetic stuff, getting into the word a bit, and having some discussion. So it's quite fun. It's a great group of prophetic people. So if you ever want to join in and you're in town, let me know. I have an upcoming course called Transform Your Emotional Life. It's in the description. You can go down if you want to sign up. I can promise you I've done this class for 15 years. It's the best of the best. It's neurochemistry of the brain. It's how to heal from anything, whether you experience severe childhood trauma or whether you just have some things that you're like, you know what, I'd like to change a few of these things. I'm not sure why I do them. It really doesn't matter on the scale of what it is. This class will help you do it. Plus, one of the fun things, because I'm teaching it, the prophetic, the discernment, before I even knew what prophecy or discernment was 15 years ago, it was really fun. I just thought I was really smart. Sadly, I would sit in front of clients. I would do an intake for this course I taught. And the guy I was working with, he's like, how do you know all this stuff about them? And I'm like, what do you mean? Don't you know this too? Like, I didn't know that other people couldn't see these things because it was the way I've always been my entire life, even in childhood. And so people did so well in these courses that it actually got out, the word spread because the material is really good. And so we use some of the best stuff out there to help you address and identify and deal with your belief systems, why your brain's the way it is, how to heal your heart. But we also use the power of God, the supernatural, to get to the point. This isn't just a sozo where you're going to have to go 25 times. I love sozo, don't get me wrong. But this is the intellectual, spiritual, emotional, soul, flesh. It tackles all of those issues. So it's amazing. I went through this course back in my 20s, and it literally changed my life. That's no exaggeration. I know a lot of pastors out there will tell you this will change your life, and you're like, no, but I can promise you, like, this information plus just the way it's delivered will absolutely change your life. It's great stuff. Get you out of loops of anger. If you're always that person that seems to like, why do my emotions get ahead of me? Or why does this same pattern keep happening to me? Whether it's unforgiveness, disappointment, conflict resolution, whatever it is, we will cover those things, okay? Something to mark on your calendar, the week of December 21st, I've got a bunch of fun guests lined up. Probably not, some of them are not your ordinary people that you would see interviewed, but they will bring it. They won't bring hype. They won't bring manipulation, but they'll bring the word of God. They'll bring the supernatural. They'll bring things that you just don't hear anywhere else. What I try to do is I try to bring people on the broadcast that are actually my friends or that they're people that I respect. And somebody, and for the most part, who I'm like, either I want to connect to them with them personally because I want to encourage them because they've been in my schools or I've discipled them and I want to encourage them to step out into ministry, or because there's somebody who I'm like, you know what, this person does the same stuff as me and has a little bit of different perspective. And I think it's great for people to hear a different perspective. So it will be a great week. So just circle it on your calendar, December 21st. It's going to be amazing. And I don't even want to tell you who I've got coming yet, because, I just had a conversation with one of the gentlemen on Friday. And it's fun. It's one of those people that you could talk to for hours upon hours, because you just connect and you have a lot of the same thoughts, same experiences. So really good stuff. That's what I'll say. If you'd like to give, we're heading into the end of the year. As always, it's tax deductible. The information's in there. You can give by PayPal. You can give by Cash App. You can give by Zelle if you're in the USA. I can give you that information. I don't take a salary. I'm not like all the other ministers out there. I get this much money. Where I make money is off of the courses, off of selling my book that will come out in 2021. And then at some point, I will draw a salary. But as of right now, all the money goes to building a school in Malawi, feeding people in Uganda, Malawi, Pakistan, and there's a bunch of different pastors we support in Uganda. And then a bunch of people gave money to fix a roof for a pastor in Malawi, which is just amazing because it would have took that pastor probably 3 years or more to be able to build a high quality roof because it literally blew off. And so when you think of some of these pastors in these villages, they are literally doing a lot with like zero resources. The only resource they have is God. So anyway, so if you want to give, that's an awesome thing you could do. We also have a Seer School prophetic group that you can join. I didn't put it in the comments, but if you're interested, send us a message. We can put you in there. We're going to do a prophetic thread December 19th. I know everybody likes prophetic threads. I might even pop in there and give some crazy prophetic words. Who knows? But that's always a fun thing that people like to do. So that's kind of all the announcements. I never enjoy the announcement part of things, but people need to kind of know what's going on, so they can kind of join in with what God is doing. But today, what I want to talk about is, I put in the post there, the doors are opening for you. Now I'm kind of one of those people. I worked at a charismatic church. I met everyone you can think of that is famous. What the fun thing for me was, as my pastor would meet with these people, I'd sit in the same room, and unless they were really, really prophetic, they'd have no idea who I was. They're just like, "Oh, this is your assistant," and most of them wouldn't talk to me. But I just get to sit there. I'd get to learn who they are. Not when they're on stage. I'd get to discern kind of what was going on. And so it was like the best schooling you could ever be a part of, to see everyone you can think of ministering, what they carried, what they didn't carry, and kind of what they do and how they minister, and then who they were behind the scenes. That was kind of the fun thing. And I remember there was a time, and it's very similar to now, where it was like, and I wore this jersey on purpose. This is an American football jersey. This is Derek Carr of the Las Vegas Raiders, number 4. Some people believe Hebraically number 4 is creation. Some people talk about new beginnings. People have all kinds of different things, but I've thought like it's very, very important for you to understand the times that we're in. We could talk about fear. We could talk about all the horrible things that are going on, but we're just not going to do that. I'll talk a little bit about it. Like here, I'll mention this. I'm in I'm in the Renton area, but most people know Seattle, Washington. In Seattle, Washington, there has been over 5,000 businesses that have shut down. Okay, now think about that. In 1 year, 5,000 businesses have shut down. And so when you multiply that in the United States, it's astronomical how many people have lost their businesses. Now, we could focus on that and be like, oh, this is so horrible. And it is. It's absolutely devastating. People are losing their homes, all those other kind of things. it's absolutely devastating. And it may actually not get better for some people. It actually may get worse. But this is the thing. There's always hope in darkness, okay? And you can focus on the darkness or you can focus on the light. And this is what I want you to focus on. I've had this conversation with a bunch of different people where, like, I was talking to my friend and I said, hey, you know, I just had the thought that you need to go do your real estate. And then my friend's like, yeah, I'm already on that. You know, I talked to another friend and I said, you're really musically talented. And let me just tell you this story. Like, so I'm in Austria and I'm ministering and we have kind of a day off and we go meet this woman. And all we do, the whole goal of the night was just to go worship. So we went to her home, a couple of us, and we just worshiped. I was on the floor under the presence of God, just getting like, I was crying. I was getting drunk in the Holy Spirit. I was just getting whacked. And, you know, I prophesied over her after we were all kind of done, became friends with her. She's absolutely amazing. And I just kind of said to her, like I do many times with friends, when I got back to the US, I was like, hey, you should start putting your stuff on YouTube. And because, you know, you have to start sometime. But I just want to be crystal clear. If you have a business idea, if you're thinking about doing ministry, if you're thinking about like, hey, I've got some issues I need to deal with, like now is the time, now is the open door to deal with those things or to step into a new business. And if you don't have one, but you're like, you know what, there's just something, you know, I'm interested in starting, you know, take some time, meditate, pray to God. But the biggest thing is now is the time to actually position yourself to take action. While everyone else is zigging, it's your time to actually zag. And so this is the thing. If you're sitting here going like, I have no idea, this doesn't really, I don't have a ministry idea or a business idea, that's fine. But you have friends that do. So share this video with them, tell them about it, or just point blank prophesy over them like it's time for you to step out. And here's why you can do it. Why you can do it is because while, and this is really common, while things are not going well for some people, like this is what I've seen so many times in my personal life where people have attacked me, right? People have said things that are they're just not nice, right? It's an opportunity, like when somebody gossips or slanders you, it's an opportunity for you to step up over that and to be catapulted. That's the great thing. Like, because the thing is, if you get offended, it's easy to just get stuck. It's easy to be focused on, oh, this person did this to me or this person. And this is the thing. We always forget, hey, I'm part of the problem because I was in that relationship. Maybe I said some things, maybe I did some things, whatever it is, figure out why you're part of the problem, deal with it so that you can be healthier, whether it's in your marriage, whether it's with your friends, whether it's in business or ministry, whatever it is, deal with it. Like, and talk to your friends about it because your friends, unless you have just a bunch of cheerleaders in your life that never say anything negative to you, if you do, I would encourage you to get some truth tellers in your life. I'm one of those, you know, I'm happy to tell you the truth. But now is the time to start a business. And I think the biggest thing that there's kind of two roads. And when I say now's the time to start a business or ministry, there's two roads. There's the person who's going to do up a business plan. They're going to do all this pre-planning. And if that's how you're wired, you're more of like an engineering mind, you're intellectual, that's totally fine. But if you're a go-getter, if you're somebody who takes charge, if you go after stuff, then go just do it. One of the biggest gifts I had years ago, I've started a few different things. One of the things I started was a life coaching and counseling business because I was teaching this course, very similar to what I'll be offering in January. I was teaching this course and I kept having people say, hey, would you meet with me one-on-one? Do you do counseling? Do you do life coaching? And so I started it out of that. And so I talked to all of my friends at the time who were successful business owners. One was in selling furniture. One ran a nonprofit. One was a counselor. One basically was selling widgets and making millions of dollars. And I asked them, like, what was the thing? And they all had a different story. So you have to do what works for you. But the biggest thing is just to go take action. Okay. If you don't have any money, that's the way a lot of people start out. If you focus on all the things that you don't have, it will be very difficult to move forward. And this is unfortunately, this is why I say some of you will have to deal with your issues while you're in the process of doing that. And it's completely okay. So when I started my life coaching business, the biggest gift I got was my friend that just looked at me. He was a multimillionaire and, and in the furniture business. And he goes, Matt, he goes, just go open a checking account, put like $10 in. I don't think you could even do that nowadays, but he's like, go put $10 in it, put the name of your company on it, and just start. And I was like, what? You can do that? And it was maybe a little more complicated than that, but so I did it. And sure enough, I just started meeting with people. And then I had to figure out the taxes. I had to figure out all the different things of what you have to do to run a business, but you can do it as you go. And then you can look for and recruit people to give you advice, to get help. And the best thing for me was I had talked to all these people like, you need this business plan that says this and this and this. But it turns out I didn't need any of that stuff. Very quickly, I had all the clientele that I wanted, all the clientele that I needed. I was doing courses. I was doing individual counseling. I was doing couples counseling. You name it, I was doing it. And it went very, very quickly. And I was able to work on my own terms, on my own time, while my wife and I were raising our daughter was very young. So we were able to kind of do it around our own schedules, which was fantastic. And if you go backwards, years ago, I went to this new church and I had no idea what an internship was. But have you ever been to a church and on the back of a communication card, it says, would you like to serve? You can give, do you have a prayer request? Well, one of the things was like, would you like to serve? And I don't even know why I wrote it, but I wrote, I'd like to intern with the youth group. Now, here's the funny thing. I had been saved for maybe 7 or 8 years. I had been serving in college ministry on the leadership team of this college ministry, but I had never, ever been to a youth ministry. I didn't know what a youth ministry did. I had no idea, but I wrote it on the back of this card because it was being led by the Holy Spirit. And I'm attending this church, and about a month later, 2 weeks later, the youth pastor or one of the youth pastors is on stage. They're blessing him. They're praying him off. And he's leaving the church. And I thought, well, that's really funny because I just put on the communication card that I'd like to be an intern. Lo and behold, I meet them. They're like, I remember this guy, he's like 6'3", he's this big dude. He's about the same age as me. He's in charge of the whole youth ministry. He goes, well, congratulations, you're the new junior high pastor. And I was like, what? And so because I didn't know a lot, I didn't know how much I didn't know. I just went 100 miles an hour and did everything I could. And we started with 3 kids. And very quickly, we were up to 30, 40 kids. And the ministry was growing. Kids were getting saved. Lots of just awesome stuff was happening. And I had no idea what I was doing. But I didn't realize back then, I just thought it was really smart. I was just being led by the Spirit, and I kept taking action. And there was so many times where I failed, but I was like, whatever, I failed. Like, let's just move on. Like, I didn't get stuck down or bogged down by failure. I learned from it. And what was fun is I eventually went to Bible college while I was there and did that while I was working there. And it was fun because I started to learn like, I'm spending 70 hours a week at this church, working with the youth, doing all this stuff. And I quickly learned how to do everything I was doing in a much quicker fashion. I could have never talked like I'm talking to you now. Back then, I could hardly stand in front of people and talk. It was so funny. I once preached the whole book of Job to the youth group. That's how much I didn't know what I was doing. Could you imagine 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, maybe 11 to 13-year-olds sitting there listening to you talk for an hour about the book of Job? They were almost all bored, but they were very respectful and they sat there. So let's just say I've gotten a little better over the years. But the point in these stories, I could tell you other things that I've started, is just go do it, okay? And find people or get, friends that you've had forever to support you in the process. It's really, really important. The how is literally just go do it and find somebody who's doing it maybe better than you or is doing the same thing. In ministry, it's very, very common where like I'll talk to ministers and ask them like, hey, why do you do this? Or, why is this working for you? And I usually connect to people that are not doing the hype, the manipulation. They're not shouting on a broadcast every time trying to like manipulate your emotions. Well, there's a time and a place for that. We just don't need to do it every time. Like that's as much as I love to shout and scream and wail and have fun. Most of those people are just doing that because that's what they've been taught. But so I go to more of the solid people and ask them like, hey, if it's real estate, like how did you get to where you're at? And what you'll actually find, and don't take it personal, you'll find that some of them actually can't tell you how they've been successful because it's just something naturally that they do. But the gold is the people that, whether it's in ministry or business, who can actually tell you like, oh, I did this and I did this and I did this. And you take that advice from those people and go, all right, well, I'm not going to do those 6 things, but I'll do 3 of those things because that makes sense to me. And that's something I can actually do and replicate, and then just go do it. And this is the thing. If whether it's real estate, whether you're starting a business, you will be surprised or shocked how many people will be willing to actually help you if they know how. Now, in ministry, I remember approaching this pastor that was on staff, and this was years ago, where I was trying to learn, like, how do I preach? How do I teach better? And this guy, like, I was so shocked. I was like, hey, I want to learn. I want to get better. How do you do this? Like, could you share your notes with me? And he's like, nah, I don't write notes. And I was like, what? You don't write notes? Like, I write like 3 pages of what I'm going to say. And he just kind of laughed at me, and I didn't get it until later. And then I asked him like, well, could you help me get better? And he's like, I don't even know how to do that. I've never helped anybody do it. And at that time, I took it personal because my identity wasn't really in Jesus. My identity was in performance. My identity was, do people like me? And I didn't really realize it until when you get those hurts, you realize, oh yeah, I've got some stuff to work on. It wasn't until later I realized it wasn't that he couldn't help me. He just didn't know how, because he had never been discipled. Even though he's a successful speaker, very good pastor, he just didn't know how to help somebody. So don't take it personal if somebody can't help you. That's the big thing, is you just move on quick, to someone else who can, to someone else who can support you. Learn the practical day-to-day things. And this is where, like, just ask these questions. If someone will give you an hour of their time, take it, but go in prepared. Have a list of questions. Like, what would you do differently? What did you do that made you successful? How do you balance being if you're a mom or you're a dad, how do you balance those things? And then who did you go to when you were starting this? I would meet people who are like, I did this all by myself. This was painful. This is excruciating. I went into debt. Learn from all of those things. Like, for me, when I started this ministry, I went $3,000 into debt. Like, it's funny because I remember this famous guy that I know, who, I don't even like dropping names because it sounds like, well, I know such and such person. But I was talking to him and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, he had kind of a ministry that people knew about. But when he took his next big step, he went like 50,000 into debt because he took out a loan on a building. He took out a loan on all these different things. And God, like, more than provided. Because most of the time people talk about, oh, that's not God if you have to borrow money. Well, the most important thing in this process, whether you're doing ministry or a business, is be led by the Spirit. So in some cases that wouldn't be a good decision. And in other cases, it would be a fantastic decision. Okay. And this is the thing, is whatever you're doing now, if you already have a job, you can always start something on the side in your free time. Like, I have a friend who started making a board game. I don't know where she's at with it, but she needs to complete it. Like, she needs somebody to just hold, like, if you need that friend that will just hold the fire to you and be like, dude, get it done. Like, get it out there. If it doesn't succeed, who cares? It may actually be the 3rd board game that you make that will be successful. You just never know. You just have to step out and get there. I have these wonderful conversations with my kids on the way to soccer. We'll drive like 30 minutes and we have some of the funniest like conversations. And one of them that came up was entrepreneurship. Because she's like, how do these people make money? How did they start their business? And so I'm having this conversation with a 12-year-old. And I said, the difference, and I was explaining to her from a spiritual perspective, God releases information to everyone, Christians and non-Christians. And people have dreams, people have visions. And then what happens is, say 5 people have the same dream about the same invention. Well, out of those 5 people, only one person actually takes action on it. And then you see them down the road like, oh, I had that idea. They stole my idea. Like people think like someone else stole their idea. And it's like, no, they just took action. That's the only difference. So that's the thing. And if you're somebody who right now you're like, your business is failing, it's going to close, then I would just say, end it, close it so that you can prepare for the next one. Because this is the thing, is if you started something before and you've had a little bit of success, you can replicate it and you can do it better the next time. The hardest part with any of these things, whether it's your own personal issues or whether it's, ministry or business, it's your emotions that are attached to it. That's the problem. I had a friend growing up, their business, it did well for many years. And then, the recession happened. And then they lost everything. And it was crazy because they could liquidate all of their, this was a restaurant. So they could liquidate all their stuff and sell it to somebody else who wanted to buy. And they were so devastated, they wanted to hold on to everything. And the price of their stuff just went down because they just couldn't function. And that's the point, is when you get to the point where you can't function, seek help, seek help even when you're doing healthy. Find somebody who you can talk to, who can help you through this process. This is why they have, life coaches. This is why there's counselors, pastors. Find somebody, I just can't say this enough. Find somebody who's doing the thing that you want to do. And especially if you can find that person that tells you, you know what, don't do it. Like, I don't know about you, but it always inspires me. So many times in my life, I felt led to do something. And I always have that person that comes up and goes, oh, you shouldn't do that. Like, this is what you should do. And I love it because it just inspires me to go, all right, I know this is going to be successful now. Now, here's what to expect. Most people think like, they look at somebody and go, wow, you started this business, you're so successful. They don't realize the toll it takes on kids, marriage, on your own soul. So don't destroy yourself in the process. One of the things that's really important is pay attention to, depending on your personality type, who you're attracting to help you, whether it's a ministry, whether it's a business, who are you attracting? If I like to use a real estate agent or anybody in sales, who are you attracting as clients? And then who is actually wanting you to be their client? Pay attention to those things. Take notes, like do these people have the same personality traits? And then you may need to actually switch it up a bit. And then the big thing is, whether, if you're selling something, you will have people that are your cheerleaders. Like you're selling this, maybe it's this dress, you're a dressmaker or whatever. And people are like, wow, that's the most amazing dress. Don't let those highs be too high. Or people are like, you are the best real estate agent, or you're the best anointed minister on earth. Like, don't let that stuff get to you. You have to literally go, hey, thank you so much. And you just let it go and you don't think about it again. Other than to analyze like, okay, hey, this person really liked this. Will other people like this? Will other people like this? Because here's what happens is, I've found personally in my life, the most excited cheerleaders that are like, Matt Young is amazing. He's the most anointed, prophetic, discerning, seer, mystic, like whatever, apostle, oracle, whatever it is. I remember one of my pastors in front of everyone was like, this is Matt. And he was very serious. He said, this is Matt Young. He's an oracle. I didn't even know what an oracle was. I had to go look it up. And I was like, he called me an oracle in front of all these people at church. If you let those things go to your head, take them as a compliment. Write them down. If you write down your prophetic words, or if you write down encouragements or words of encouragement, but don't sit on them, because I've found some of the most encouraging people like that. They end up turning. They sometimes become the people that don't like your business. They don't like your ministry. or they just don't like you. Don't take it personal. Learn from the experience and move on. As well as go to the other side, the person that doesn't say anything to you. Like, you don't even know that they're buying your products. You don't even know they're interested in your ministry. I know there's plenty of people that watch these broadcasts that I've never had the pleasure of talking to. And I love to meet people. I love to talk to people. But I've never had the pleasure of even talking to them. So I don't even know they're watching the broadcast, but I see, because you see how many views it gets and all that kind of stuff. Occasionally on YouTube, I get some fun people that are very religious who leave comments. Like I had a guy call me a false prophet for a video, and what I want to do is I want to respond and give the guy a real, like, deep prophetic word, or just kind of be funny because I'm kind of snarky and go, "Oh, I'm a false prophet. So's your mom." But people would just be so offended. But that's kind of my sense of humor. And my wife always says, "Yeah, don't say those kind of things. You're not funny." So, it's good. But the point is, don't let your cheerleaders or the people that are the most, like, negative towards you, don't base what you do off of either one. Take in their information, listen to them. I've learned some of the best stuff from people who are, like, super, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, they are -10. They are brutally honest. They'll say things that are not even true, but just listen to it. Even though you could look at it and go, "Wow, that person's really wounded. That person's really hurt." Listen to what they say, because they may say 10 horrible things, and you're like, 8 of those are just not true. They're laughable. They're so ridiculous. But they may say 2 things that nobody else has ever said to you. Write those things down and take them and go, "God, what can I do with this? How can I make this ministry better? How can I make this business better?" That's really important. And get a wide range of opinions. The people on my team, they're all amazing, but they're all very, very different. They have, like, I don't even want to say, some of them are more like me, which is kind of scary, because sometimes I'm like, "Oh, are they going to say the kind of things that the direct truth that hurts sometimes?" But it's the kind of hurt you're like, "Oh, I needed to hear that because I need to grow." And I try to tell my team, like, be direct, be honest. And then we try to do it in love. Like, that's the most important part. But it takes time to develop those kind of friendships and relationships, because some people, it takes longer to be that direct than others. But the bottom line is, when you're doing a ministry, when you're doing a business, don't let the highs be too high. Don't let the lows be too low. And surround yourself with people who can do things that are different. And even if this is the crazy thing, even if you're starting a business, when, like, for me in the nonprofit world or starting a ministry, it's all volunteer based. Well, sometimes people don't apply that to their business. If you're doing a business, there is always somebody out there who's like, they want to learn the thing that you're doing. So if you can, it's a discipleship opportunity. Try to bring other people around with you. Years ago, before I ever did life coaching or I was doing any of this stuff, I just asked. I was part of a church. Like I said, I was part of a college ministry. This is in my 20s. I knew the counselor because I had taken this course, the course that that I'm offering in January. Or it's not the same exact course, but you get the drift, right? But I said to him, I was like, "Hey, what is it like to actually counsel people?" And I was like, "I know this sounds strange, but I'm the guy who asked." I said, "Could I sit in a couple of your sessions and hear what you do and how this all works?" Because I was curious, because I had never been to counseling before. And he's like, "Well, I don't see why not." And so he scheduled it so I could sit in some of his sessions, and then I could sit in. He had a whole counseling practice with other counselors, and I was able to sit in with them just to kind of see, like, what this is. And I learned very quickly. Listening to other people's problems, trying to help them. It can be, if you're not healthy, it will overtake you. This is why so many pastors, so many counselors, so many ministers burn out. And this is why I hear, like, one of the number one things I hear from people is, "I just pour out and I get nothing back." Well, if you're doing that, you're doing something wrong. You shouldn't be exhausted from ministry. You can get tired from doing ministry. You can get exhausted from time to time. Don't misunderstand me. But it shouldn't be an all the time feeling. If you're feeling that way, then something needs to be fixed. I'm not going to say you're unhealthy emotionally or whatever, but something is not getting processed the right way. And then, because what happens is sometimes we get into ministry because we're wounded, and then we want to help other people, not realizing we've not healed. And then we're working with people who need this healing. And we're not like, we're listening to their problem and we're a good listener, but we're not actually helping them get any better. That's what I see so many times in ministry, where there's not really ministry going on. It's just a conversation. And because you have a title, that people think something is happening and nothing happens. And then what happens, this actually used to be my tagline. This is what I said to every client that would come in for life coaching, counseling, or a class. I would say to them, at some point, I'm going to say something that's going to be difficult for you to hear. And here's why. You're paying me $100 an hour to come for 50 minutes. And I said, if we're still sitting here 3 months from now talking about the same issue, like, I love you too much to continue to take your money when we're not making any progress. So I will probably say some difficult things to you because I love you enough to say them, because I love you enough to see you grow. And it happened maybe 3 times a year where I'd have a client that would get offended. They'd quit. They'd go, they'd take a referral to someone else, and then they would come back because they'd realize, oh, I needed to hear what you had to say because no other counselor will actually say this to me. And at that point, it's, ever heard the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Sometimes we're not ready for the teacher. Sometimes we're not healthy enough, and that's okay. There is many times bumps that come up through this process. But this is the thing, the best way to go through any of these processes, whether you're starting a business, a ministry, whether it's online or in person, and online ministry, I'll just say this, there is such a huge opportunity to do online ministry. There are many people who don't have very many followers. They don't have very many subscribers on YouTube or whatever you want to say is, but they're able to reach the people that need what they have. And so you have to start somewhere. That's the part where just be led by the Spirit, and take advice from your friends. Take prophetic advice from your friends. And I can promise you, if you think about it in the term of what are my goals for the next year, the next 2 years, the next 3 years, and when you look at it from that perspective, you'll begin to see the growth that happens through that process. In the same way, there's people that I've mentored. They don't know that I know this, but I'm like, oh, I know who they're going to be, 5 years from now. They have no clue. Sometimes I joke around and say it. But I watched one minister that I know who occasionally would see people get healed, who just all of a sudden, it was 1 year, just signs, wonders, miracles, crazy stuff was happening. Not because I laid hands on them and prayed for them, not because I did anything, special, other than I loved them, told them the truth, and supported them and pushed them like, you go do this. You can do this. You're not going to do it the same as me. It's going to be different than me. That's great. So here's what would actually be fun to call out some people. And I'm just going to do this for fun. I'm not going to say any names, but I'll just say my friend in Austria. I've got 2 friends in Austria. One, and some of you are going to know who these people are. So I've got 2 friends in Austria. One I know is starting a business. I just want to encourage you as you watch this, just to do it. And if you want help, I'm more than happy to help you. But the thing is, you already have the anointing, you already have the gifting, and your following will grow very, very quickly. It doesn't mean you're going to make billions of dollars, but the point is, do what you love, do it while you're doing other things, and go for it. My friend that's going to be the most famous person in Austria, you're on the right track. I don't need to say anything to you, but just keep doing what you're doing. I actually know, my friend Gideon, I think, is on here. I actually know a prophet in Malawi. And it's really funny because he's a real prophet. I meet many people around the world who have a title and they're not what their title says. And if you've watched me for any amount of time, I'm not a big fan of titles, because sadly people hear a title and think, oh, this person's amazing. But I know a prophet in Malawi who I think within the next 10 years is going to, nobody knows who this guy is. Nobody's, most people, he hasn't traveled out of Malawi other than maybe gone to a few other African countries. I don't even know. But in the next 10 years, what's actually going to happen for him is he's going to become not just well-known in Africa, but well-known in other places. But sometimes God has to take care of some things in that process for these people to get to where they're going to go. Yeah, I have another friend who, like, I have 2 friends. That's actually 4. So maybe there's 4 friends, maybe I just don't know, that are actually getting into real estate. I just, like, you guys both, the 2 of you that I know are going to be fantastic in real estate. Take your time at it. This is me prophesying over you. Just a simple word of encouragement to step out and do it. And you're going to look back at the times where you're like, oh, did I really know what I was getting into? None of us know what we're getting into when we do these things. It's actually going to radically have a change in your life that will be for the good, but it'll be a gradual process. And you'll find it's actually going to go way quicker than you could even realize. I have another friend, this is kind of like the passive prophecy, who you're in Germany. It's time for you to start your ministry. It's time for you to put out your website to let people know what you do, and just to fire it up. And this is the thing, is if you're watching this broadcast and you're like, well, he's not talking about me, but he's talking about me, then take this and run with this and go do it. That's the thing I just want to encourage you is there's too many times in life we don't have people who believe in us and who really support us. I'm not talking about the cheerleader that cheers and then leaves. I'm not talking about negative Nelly or negative Nancy who's just like, bleh. I'm talking about the people that really know who you are, that are going to support you no matter what. And I'm talking about, like, these are good family members. They might not be family by blood. They may be just family because of your relationship with Jesus Christ. But I just want to encourage you to step out. And I'll tell you, anybody who's watching this video, I would absolutely love to pray for you, pray for the new endeavor you're going to step into. And this is the thing. I've talked about ministry. I've talked about business. This could be you adopting a child. This could be you fostering a child. This could be, like, don't let what I've said limit you. Like, this is an opportunity to step into some new things, or maybe you've done this before and it's a new person. This is a huge door opener. It isn't because we're stepping into January and it's the new year. I believe the new year happened already because I'd rather go by the Jewish New Year than what we have kind of set up. As I said in the last video, I'll just tell you, I think in the next, I'll say maybe December 20th, 25th, right in there, there's going to be some significant things that, like, shift spiritually in heaven, in the universe, whatever you want to call it, which that may not make sense to you, but just watch. Some of you will actually feel a difference. And don't let, if you see bad things, don't let it, like, turn the news off, turn the media off, quit reading articles that are depressing, quit reading articles, no matter what your political party is, that make you feel better because your candidate is winning or not. Like, just turn it off. Spend time with God. I prophesied in the beginning of the year, this will be the year for you to connect with God, for you to hear from him yourself. And as anybody who's followed me knows, I don't mean just hearing the voice of God. I mean knowing, like, what God is doing, feeling what God's doing, and just sensing, like, your whole being sensing what God is doing. Okay. And if you sense it's bad, then it's time to intercede and pray. If you sense some good things are happening, we need to be the ones who bring the light. We need to be the ones who bring the truth. We need to be the ones who bring, like, the Spirit of God so that other people's lives can be transformed. You can do it. Like, that's the biggest thing you need to know is you can do it. But you need to go to the source. You can't just go to your pastor, your minister, your friends. You have to go to the source yourself, because eventually you'll just burn out. And this is the time, if there's ever a time in the history of the universe, I want you to think about it. You are alive in the most exciting time of all history. It's crazy. Like, you were born for this time. You were born God chose you before the beginning of time to have a relationship with him. And that right now, right here, not only would you be listening to this message, but even if you're friends who are believers or who don't believe yet, this is the greatest time to be alive. If you focus on all the negative stuff, you won't actually see it, but you have to be that person, even though like I address negative things all the time. Okay, we have to address them, but at the same time, you have to see what's coming. You have to see the goodness of God. Like I have a friend who's going through the ringer right now. And he's like, yeah, this is exciting. It's a great time to be alive. And I know what's going to happen. He's going to go through this process. And within like a few months, he's just going to be like, wow, that was the best decision I ever made. It was painful. It was difficult, but it was the best decision I ever made. And who he is after he goes through this process is just going to be absolutely amazing. And the fun thing is, nobody knows the process he's going through. Maybe a couple people do, but God knows. And he's connected, or he's reconnected to God. And it's just fantastic. It's so fun to see when people get lit up by God. There are some seriously exciting things that are happening that I just want to share, but I can't share yet. But just pay attention. When people talk about, when you read the New Testament and you see like, oh, the stargazers, the Babylonian seers were like watching the star to find where Jesus was. Like Jesus isn't coming back. So just get that out of your mind. He's not coming back today. He's not coming back tomorrow. And part of the reason why I know he's not coming back anytime soon is because everyone's saying he is. Just like in 2000 when the world was going to crash and all that other kind of nonsense. But if you believe the world's going to end and you believe that Jesus is coming back soon, God bless you. Maybe sometime I'll do a broadcast on all the verses where Jesus actually says it's the end of the age. He just is talking about star signs and at the end, and that may go over your head, but it's right there in the Bible. Like I could pull it up. I could pull it up on here. Let me see where it is. In the last days, it shall be, God declares, that I'll pour my spirit on all flesh, and your sons and daughters shall prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Well, guess what? Acts, the book of Acts, it says it's the last days. What's going on here? Okay, Timothy. But understand this, in the last days, there'll be times of difficulty. Dude, I've experienced so much difficulty in my life. I could write 25 volumes, of that. Jesus, as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, tell us when these things will be and what will be the sign of your coming and of the close of the age. This is one of the biggest errors that people make in Christianity, thinking that Jesus is going to come back with laser beam eyes, blow up the universe, do all this other crazy stuff. By the way, if he does, awesome. I want to ride on that laser beam in the sky and have some fun. But so many times, if we look at the original Greek language, it talks about the ending of an age. And people don't like to talk about astrology because astrology is demonic. But hear me out. I'm not talking about astrology. I'm talking about in every civilization, they were taught to read the stars. When you read the book of Job, it talks about the Pleiades. It talks about Orion. It talks about all these star systems. They were all taught how to read the signs and the seasons, right? Just the same way as if I walk out my door right now, I believe it's probably pitch black. I can look up and I can find Orion's belt. I can find the star sign. It's not there during the summer in the same place because you could read the seasons. Sometimes we get offended by things that we just don't understand. We need to understand the times we're living in. So I think I've said enough. I hope this has encouraged you. If you know somebody who's getting ready to step out and start a business, start a ministry, adopt kids, make some major life changes, this is the time to do it. When everyone else is zigging, it's time for you to zag. You're a believer in Jesus. You have Christ inside of you. You are the most powerful spiritual being that's ever been created because you literally are the image of God. If you understood how powerful you are, how much love you have that you have inside of you, ready to come out because God wants to use you more than you even want to be used, there you would start to realize there's nothing that can stop you. No offense. Doesn't matter. Nothing really matters. Okay. other than the fact that you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. That's all. That's not like that's not a couple things. Doesn't mean it's always going to be easy, but you can literally do it. So again, I would just encourage you, encourage yourself in the Holy Spirit, encourage your friends, encourage your neighbors. People need it. And people are more open to God than you could even imagine right now because of everything that's going on. So it may just take a simple like prayer for things to just radically change for someone. So anyway, I hope this has encouraged you guys. As I said, mark on your calendar. I believe it's December 21st. Let me look at my notes here. Yeah, we'll call it the December to remember. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be crazy. And it's going to be probably a little bit different than what you have actually ever heard. But any of you guys that have been following me for a amount of time, it won't be strange or different for you. It'll be like, oh yeah, this is my life. I've been having these experiences my whole life. That's the way God created me. So anyway, God bless you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great rest of your evening or day, depending on where you're watching. And we'll see you. We'll see you really, really soon. God bless you.